So, I've kind of realized that I have not done a good video, I'll say good video, of me setting up my tent. So, this will be that video. Now, the tent that I'm using is a KampRite Tent Cot. So they're an entire company, I'll link it down in the description, of as I was saying, the tent that I use is a KampRite Tent Cot. This is the original version, so just the version with 2 legs. If you want to see how I built the support bars that I have built on here, I'm going to link that video up here as well to then show how that whole is put together. I think it's a shorter video, but kind of gets to the idea of it. So when I'm packaging the tent, I have it here wrapped with a strap all the way around to keep it all nice and tidy for when it's inside the storage bag here. The storage bag I use is just a plain car rooftop carrier because they're pretty waterproof. They're not 100%, but they're pretty close. The one I specifically got, I'll go ahead and link that one down in the description as well. There's a bunch of different ones. You want to find one if you're just doing the tent. You want one as shallow as possible. There's a bunch that have like a 16-inch depth. That's gonna be way too much. This was an 8-inch, and I think it's perfect for me. But for the support bars, they're just made out of synthetic decking material, and I just bolted them on with a couple of stainless steel U-bolts, and they seem to be working pretty well. Now, since this thing only has 2 legs, and the legs are inset a little bit, it's really important to have this strapped down to the boat so that, you know, if you end up with the weight too much on one side or the other, you don't want to flip off the boat. But let me go ahead and show you what those loops look like. So the straps I was talking about, that this is just a long Velcro strap that the leg's gonna sit here, and this is just gonna go up and over that leg and strap it down. And so I've got 2 on each of these boards here, and on top of that, this white pipe here actually goes underneath these 2 boards to act as a support structure so that I have a direct contact with the boat, because then there's less pressure on the ACAs here and less pressure on the entire outboard support and more direct pressure on the center line of the boat here. But you'll see what it looks like when I've got it all together. Now, beyond the tent itself and the support boards, I also have this piece of, I think it's 1.5" PVC tube. And this is the tube I was talking about that goes underneath the 2 support boards to then put direct pressure deck on the center line of the boat. You may not need this for a short trip, but I really like it. It makes the platform a little more level so you don't get any flex, as well as you don't bow the boards any more than you would over time. And I think it just helps with the general safety and longevity of the system. And I don't know if KampRite intended this or not, but the straps that they use for connecting the 2 sides are 2 different lengths. So I ended up putting some flagging tape on the side that's longer, so that I use that as the one to go all the way around the tent. I can't remember if they intended it that way, but it works pretty well. So, the legs will fold out here, and then they'll sit on top, and I'll go and strap it down. You can go to either one of the lower bars here. I like this top one so you don't have any like rising pressure on this bottom rung, but you can do either one. I'm sure KampRite has an official statement on that. Also, these clips on the end here get caught on everything. So from here, I've got the clips attached to set up the tent itself. But then getting the rain fly on, that can be a little bit of an adventure in of itself. But from here, the tent is pretty much set up. It's super, super easy, which is one of the things that I love about it. I have this set up specifically because I want to be able to set it up, package it, unpackage it completely without getting off the boat. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind, if you're doing this setup and you're in a windy area, as soon as you open this up, it turns into a sail. So be ready for it. You can do it, I've done it, but just be aware that as soon as you open up, it turns it into a sail, which could do two things. One, blow this off the boat, as well as it could then start to act as a sail for your boat and start to push you in different directions. You want to make sure that you have a good holding. Even when it's set up and I have it strapped down, it's still acting a bit like a sail. So you want to make sure that your anchors are set well, or your pilings, your tie-offs are set well. Otherwise, it's going to push the boat around. So, before I put the rain fly on, I want to show you something that I'll show you a little bit later as well. That there's one thing that you will see on my rain fly that you won't see almost on any other, and that is on the outsides of, or the insides of the rain fly here, I've put 2 grommets. And those 2 grommets go to a tent pole that I made. I can try and put some of the links down, or some description down there of my length of this. But this goes between the 2 grommets here. And then with it between the 2 grommets, then I take the sheet line from the sail, pull this out, and now you have an awning, because these tents don't have built-in awnings on them, and so I wanted to have an awning, and that is my modification to it. However, it's best to not put that on the pull-in when doing everything else. It makes it a little bit easier. So that, by and large, is the most important parts there. Let me show you a couple more other spots to make this really nicely secured and easy to use. So, underneath the tent here, there's a couple of things that I want to go over. So, like I talked about before with the Velcro strap, I've got that. That's going to go up and over. And then cinch that down. But I'm not going to bore you with all of that. So, hopefully, and just like that, they're all done. Now, once you've got that, the tent itself should be secured down to the boat, and you're good to go. But if you want to open up these zippers here, there's one more thing you got to do, because you're just going to end up pulling this. And that is, you've got these really nice little tie downs here that you want to tie it down to this part here. There's a bunch of different ways of tying it down. You could go to this side here, or this side here, or here. Figure out whatever area works best for you, as well as whatever knot works best for you. I tend to do just a half hitch, but it takes 2 hands to tie that, so hold on a second while I tie it, and I'll show you what it looks like. And so now you can see that I've got just a nice little half hitch tied here, so that now it should work here. If I just grab this tab, voila, a whole lot easier to then get inside the tent. And you've seen some of my videos from inside the tent before, but I'd say if you're under 6 feet tall, it's just about perfect. Any taller than that, I think they have an extra long version. But yeah, anything over 6 feet, I would not recommend. And they've got a couple of dog bones up there to tie up the doors. There are no dog bones to tie up the rain fly, which can kind of be frustrating sometimes. I don't know if they fixed it on any future models. Works really well. There's a nice you know, mesh liner on top of then the layer from the tent, and then the rain fly. Now, some of the other things you do have to worry about with the tent like this is in the morning, especially if you're sleeping on the boat like this, is you're gonna get tons of condensation. So just be forewarned. This is a tent that gets a fair amount of condensation. I don't know if they fix that on later models, but there might be some things you can do to open up vents here or there to try and fix that. But yeah, condensation is definitely a thing. Having the awning on here definitely helps, but it's not foolproof. Oh, and one more thing I did want to point out, that to give some extra pressure on the bottom side here, you want to make sure to, if I can get under here and buckle at the same time, that it's important to buckle these. This buckle here is from the rainfly, so that goes then to here on the tent, and that just adds an extra level of tension to the tent. We're all just about good there. And right, one last thing to put in is our little rod here. So from here, we're gonna zip this end up and this end up a little bit. You can't put this rod where I've placed it here, you can't put it in with it fully zipped up. 2 grommets here. This goes from there into that one, and that's all good to go. But where the magic happens is then you take, this only happens if you have a Hobie Adventure Island, or I think you might be able to work on a tandem island. But you take the hook from your sheet line, tighten it up a little bit, just goes on the center there. You want to make sure that you zip your fly up all the way, pull it above your butt head, and then you want to make sure, there we go, that it's not getting impeded by anything, and then pull it out. Now, there we go. The important thing to remember about this is you don't want to pull this super, super tight, because then you're putting a lot of stress on the joint up here, on the zipper. You don't want to do that. This is literally just snug tight. And if you're gonna have really big wind, I would not recommend doing this. It's an easy way to rip a seam, and fixing a seam out of the water is nearly, I don't want to say impossible, but it's really hard to do. And so from this point, what I would generally do is then take my bag of all of my tent material, so my sleeping pad, my sleeping bag, let's see, actually, let's go ahead and do that. My first piece of gear that I always pull out is going to be my air mattress here. This is a Sea to Summit Ultralight that I got from Great Outdoor Provisioning Company. Put this up in there. This goes here. Yes, I know the bag itself also inflates it, but when you're on a boat, it's not as easy. If you're on land, yes, you can use the bag to inflate it, but not for me. There's that. Then I pull out my Thermalest 3-season bag. This thing is starting to see the end of its years. It's not as good as it used to, but for 3 seasons, and really 2 seasons that I'm out in, it is just fine. Then I've got my Thermarest reactor, which is a liner. It's a 5 to 10 degree liner, which on those really warm nights is really nice to have. And then I've got my Nemo pillow. Now I upgraded this pillow recently. I'd had the same kind of just foam or pack camp pillow, but it had seen well over a decade of use, and so I think it was time for an upgrade. And this is great with an integrated stuff sack and then just a little bit of air inflation. And the last thing is just a pair of sleep shorts. And from there, I then will also take, since that part's emptied, because you always want to use everything on a boat, that's now emptied, that there are other things that will now go back inside here. And then that gets closed back up. But from that, that's pretty much my entire setup. That I've got everything inside the tent there, plus a really great side of once you get to camp, setting up the tent as fast as you can, is because then you'll be able to unload a little bit things here. So I've got my regular grab and go like blue bucket here that you see all the time and next to me here, and it's invaluable that I keep like sunscreen in here and a light and a knife and a journal, extra hat, plenty of bug spray, charging blocks, anything like that, that goes in here. But it's nice to then put this back under the tent so that if a rain does come up, as well as it just gets it out of the sun, particularly once I've got lots of electronics, it's good to put that underneath here, as well as you've now got a dry surface underneath the tent there as well. Honestly, one of the great things is now I've got full access with the awning there. I've got full access to my trap here, as well as I can do anything I want to out of the rain. Now the awning doesn't go as far back as I would like. That if I had to do a complete redesign, I might have moved this a little bit further back. But overall, I'm really happy with it. And this is what it looks like fully set up here outside in all its glory. It's pretty awesome. I've really loved it. It does feel small at times, but you just accept the small, then small will be perfect, because small is also easy. If things get too big, then it gets a lot more complicated. But yeah, doing pretty well here. But overall, that is my tent rig here. I have done a couple of different videos on it, but you guys have been asking for more videos, so here they are. I think I'm gonna do this as just a video by itself of how I set up my tent to make it a little bit easier for everyone to watch. But this is my bin tent here, and so I think that's about it. Yeah, wow, it's like the shortest I've filmed an entire video. But thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, as well as go ahead and hit that subscribe for both tent and camping related things, and boating and environmental and education, you know, the whole shebang. If you want to follow this journey on a more consistent basis to see where I am up to date at all times, I recommend following me on social media. So I am at Climate Kayak and Conversation on Facebook and Instagram, as well as I've got my website, climatekaякandconversation.org. That was where you'll be able to find me at the most up to date, as well as on the website there. I do have a button that says, "Where is Will?" You can click that button and it will show you exactly where I am along my trip up the East Coast from Miami, Florida to Norfolk, Virginia. So, thank you all so much for watching. This has been Climate Kayak and Conversation, and my name is Will. I'll see you guys next time.